want you to breathe me. Let me be your air. Let me roam your body freely. No inhibition, no fear.
Welcome back to Real Facts. You and I live with Shania Blanco. Welcome. All right, so my topic is going to be about a young lady named Clare Bernal. There was a situation that carried out in London with a guy by the name of Michael. Claire started working at a care facility because she loved everything about skincare and beauty. She loved makeup. She loved putting makeup on or whatever. So she ended up meeting this guy, and he was a security guard at the place. And he seemed really nice at first. Everything was real, peaches and cream. So after she got to know him or whatever, I guess they only went on 3 dates, and he started to get kind of possessive, and he would follow her everywhere she goes. Like, she couldn't breathe without him being there, and it was becoming annoying for her. So he also had ended up telling her that he loved her, and they hadn't even been together that long. So she felt like, it was a bunch of red flags all over the place. So she was really, really getting tired of this guy. Anyway, so he ended up leaving, going to another country, I guess to visit family or whatever. But after he came back and he stayed for a couple of nights at her house, and he missed his flight on purpose because he was supposed to leave for another trip. And she just couldn't take it anymore, so she decided to tell him that things were over. And he begged her to not leave him. And, he continued to plead with her, but she made her mind up. So anyway, another night he was sitting outside her house or out of her apartment for about 2 hours waiting for her to come outside. Her neighbors started to notice the behavior. So she ended up, when she went to work, she ended up telling her coworkers about the situation, and they started paying close attention. She told her family about it. She was afraid to go to the police because, there wasn't any, she thought it was a waste of time because there wasn't any physical harm that had happened, yet. So she just let that go and just continued to tell him that she doesn't want to be with him. So he sent her over 20 text messages. The messages, I guess, were like, when are we going to celebrate our anniversary? Just making it seem like they were still together. So another time she was at work, he called her 50 times. And her mother says that he was calling her like 50 times a day. And it was just getting disturbing. One day she was leaving from work, and she started running, and he was running after her, and he followed her onto a train, and then she just stopped and turned around and said, "Hey, if you don't stop following me, I'm going to report you to the police." So he ended up saying that, "If you report me to the police, I'm going to kill you." So she took that very seriously. She told her mother about it, but they were both still afraid to go to the cops about the situation because they just felt like things would get even more worse than what it already was. So they let things, try to let things calm down. But even though they worked at the same place, he would still follow her and watch her every move. So she ended up telling her boss about the situation, her and the other coworkers, and they planted a body camera on her so they could see for themselves. So the body camera showed that he indeed was following her and all this and that. So her supervisor suggested that she would have to go to the cops about the situation because the only thing that they can do is suspend him and move him to a different department. So they ended up going to the cops, and they told them everything, and she showed them the footage of everything that was going on. The police came and met him at the job and arrested him. So he ended up getting out, but that didn't stop him from following her. He was waiting outside her house again, waiting outside her apartment, I mean, and waiting for her to come outside. So she called the cops again, and they arrested him again. And at this point, they felt like, this man does not care about the law. He doesn't care about the cops. He ended up getting released again. Then he left and went out of town again. But in this time, he was gone for a pretty long time, like for months. Claire thought that, things was over, thought that it was finally over and she was getting back to her normal lifestyle. But he ended up coming back. And Claire, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that Claire ended up moving to another city in London or whatever. So he found out where her new place was at, and he began to stalk her again. And she called the cops again. and they arrested him again. And by this time, they let him out because I guess he was waiting for trial to go to trial for the situation. But before they can make it to trial, he ended up pleading guilty to all the charges. So this time, he's waiting to get sentenced. So in the middle of him waiting to get sentenced, I guess he's out hanging out in the streets, getting drunk or whatever the case may be. But he ended up coming back on her job. And this time, Claire was getting off work and she was, buying some things, some makeup and stuff to take home with her. And he walked right behind her and shot her in the back of the head. And when she fell to the ground, he shot her 3 times in the face. Oh, and then he turned the gun on himself. So after all of the several reports, and even though he pleaded guilty, they still had this man walking around. Even though he threatened to kill her and all this and that, he got a chance to do what he was planning on doing in the first place. And after that, her mother ended up starting some kind of charity campaign for people that are being stalked in relationships or just stalked, period, saying that there's basically help out here and don't be afraid to go to the police. Even if you think that the police isn't going to take it seriously, make them take it seriously because it's a very serious matter. One lady had mentioned that stalking is like murder in slow motion, which I believe so as well, because it's like they already made the threats, they're already doing the stalking, the following you around and all this and that, and the red flags are there, but they haven't made their move yet, but they already told you what they're going to do. So and a lot of times it's pretty hard to prove stalking, so you have to pay attention to every detail, even if you have to wear a body camera everywhere you go. Even with your phones, you have to be careful with social media. You have to be careful where you go. Always keep some kind of plan B at all times because you just never know what could happen. So this young lady, she died at age 22. She was very beautiful, very gorgeous, and she didn't have any help. She felt isolated, she felt trapped, she was afraid for her life, but no one actually took it. Well, her family took it seriously, but the police, I mean, I can't say that they didn't take it serious, but they took it serious a little too late. It was a little too late before they took it serious. So that was my story for you guys. And hopefully, if you guys are feeling any kind of way about somebody in your life that's stalking you, you feel like they're stalking you, you feel like there's no help, like there's no where to turn, please document every detail because people are really slick and you have to pay close attention to everything. All right. And once again, I will leave a link in the comments, for the domestic hotline. If you guys are in some kind of situation, there's help for you out here. And once again, there is also help for the abusers as well. All right, that's it, you guys. Thank you for joining me on my show here, Real Facts with Shania Blanco. I'll see you guys next week. Thank you.
If it's your love.